Hello friends, so let's continue with our calculator application. In our last video, we created this user interface in Qt, and now we will take this user interface in Python and create our application. So let's go back to our IDE. For my application, I'm using PyCharm IDE. You can use any IDE, whatever you want, you are comfortable with. That's okay. So the structure is pretty same. Like I just created a folder called Python calculator, and inside that I created another folder. The name is UI, and now you can see that we have this folder here, and with this you can see our main.ui file here. Now if you want to convert that UI file to py, the procedure is very simple. You can create a batch file, and in that batch file you go to this location in your Python installation. Go to Python 2.27 lib site packages pyqt4, and you can find this script like pyuic4.batch, and just give one space and put your UI file name. So in my case it's main.ui, and after that you can use -o and main.py. So you know what happened when once you execute this batch file, it will convert that UI to a py file in the same location where your UI file is. Okay, so now we have this main.py file. Let's see what is this. So this is the entire Python code which is generated by this script. Okay, now we'll see how we can use this in our application. So first of all, like this is a in this folder, if you want to access this main.py file, we need to add a init file inside this folder. Then only we can access that into our main Python file. So let me create a init Python file, and now I will add a main Python file here in our main directory, and I will name my Python file calculator. Okay, so this is our calculator.py file here, and okay, so let's just create a function that will do all calculations for us. Okay, so without first of all, let's don't make any classes, just make a function that will do the calculations based on the arguments. So let me explain you what I'm talking about. So let's just create a function. So whenever we create a function inside Python, first we have to write a diff, which is like we are defining a function, and let's just name that function called calculation. And in that calculation we need like 3 arguments. First is value a, value b, and the operator. What do you want to do with that? Okay, so let me see. Val1, val2, and operator, and then we'll put a colon, press space, and then what we can do, so we'll take these arguments and do our calculation. So for example, we'll do the add. Okay, so how we'll use that? Val1 and operator, we'll use that. So val1 plus val2, so value 1 plus value 2, and we'll just use a variable x that will be value 1 plus value 2, whatever we pass as an argument in our calculation function, and will return this x value. Okay, so right now we are not considering this argument and we are using this based on our hard-coded value here plus. That means like whatever value we pass, that will be add and it will return to us. So let's just call this function first. So use calculation and press 10 and 20, and also we need to see the result, so we'll use the print. Okay, so run the calculator and you can see that there is a error. Definitely this error because it's required a operator, but that we did not given here. So either what we can use, we can give a function, a operator argument here. So let's just give add. Okay, and now we just add a add argument here. Even we are not using that, but we have to give this argument. Okay, so you can see that our results come here 30. So we pass 10 and we say okay, 10 plus 20 and the result is 30. So it's pretty simple. But you know, this add, what we are giving here, we are not using some anywhere here. So to use that, we will create some statements, if and else statement. So based on the statements, these operators will change. So let's see how we can use the if and else statements. So if you want to use, you can say if operator is add, then return value 1 plus value 2. Okay, so what this will do, it will look for this operator here and it will return the value add. If we provide add here, that let's say if we want to do the subtraction, then we use as if operator is then return value 1 minus value 2. Okay, so let's try it now. So when we run this, we can see we got 30 here, but let's say we have the first argument called 50 and the second argument called 15, and we use sub. Then you can see the result is 35 because now our function comes to this statement. So this third argument is not add, so that's why it's not using this operator. It is using the subtraction operator. Okay, similarly we add divide and multiplication. So let's copy this, divide for multiplication. You can use star here. Okay, so let's try with divide. So now you can see the division is 3. Now you can see there we receive this result in integer value 3 when we divide value 1 and value 2. So which is, if we divide 50 to 15, we receive 3, but it should be in some float value. So to get that, actually we have to tell our Python that these values can be float. So let's change the data type of our arguments to float. And also we use float for value 2. And now we execute the same calculation with divide, but right now we use float. As you can see here, now we receive value in our float. So it shows that, okay, if you divide 50 by 15, you will receive 3.33 as your answer. That's what we want in our application. Okay, so same thing we'll use for our all values. So I will change this float to our all arguments. Or quickly, what I can use is, we can redefine these arguments inside this function called val1 equals to float val1, sorry, 1. Also val2 equals to float val2. Okay, so now I don't need to declare here, because I already mentioned in the top of my function that, okay, whatever value you pass here, that will convert to float before we do any of these operators. So when we run this, okay, we get the precise result. Also, if we say use multiply, run this, so we get result here 750. That's perfect. So this is our main basic calculation function, and now we will take our user interface inside this our small calculation application. Okay, so if you want to import any pyqt user interface, before that you need to import the pyqt4 qtgui library. So how you can use that? You can use from pyqt4 import qtgui. So with GUI you can use your user interface that you created here. As you can see, when you just converted this UI file, it's also use this pyqt4 import qtgui. Second thing what we need to use is, we need to import our newly created main.py file. So to import that, we can use from UI import main. That's it. So now we have our main, this main.py file here, and the Qt libraries here. Okay, now if you want to use these, you should create a class here. Okay, so let me create a class and name this class as calculator class. And in this calculator class, what we need to use is, from our main.py file, our UI file, we need to call our main window, UI main window class, and also we need to call qtgui.qmain window class. Okay, these two are mandatory when you want to import that UI file into your Python app. Okay, so this name might be changed according to your file, but rest of the code will be same. And also this is why I import the UI main window, because I created main window inside Qt. So as you can see, when we created that time, we use main window, and if you use this widget, then you cannot use this, then you cannot use this, then you have to use the Q dialog here. Okay, but that is a different case, we will not discuss that right now. But the another thing, after you just declare your class, you need to add a init function inside your class. So you just go define underscore underscore init dot self, and the first thing what you're gonna do, you have to use the super class, and in that super just provide the name of your class here. Okay, so use calculator class, and we'll use self here dot, and then initialize that. Okay, the second thing what we will use here is, now we want to set up our UI, which is inside this UI.main window. So use that with self dot setup UI. Okay, so with this code you can able to import all this code inside your calculator class, but still you cannot see that. Before you want to see that, you need to change some of this, because right now this function you cannot, because if we want to use this function inside our calculator class, so with this calculation function we will put inside our calculator class. And I will delete that print because we don't want to use that at this moment. And suddenly you can notice that this value 1 is changed to this color. Yeah, because you know, here when we add any new function inside a class, the first argument must be self, like this. So we'll change that to self. And this is something which is related to the object oriented term. So once how you want to use this self, there is a separate video for that, where I will declare you all like basics of the classes. But here you just go along, so we can complete this tutorial and you will get the basic understanding of how we can create applications inside Python. Now, you know, when you execute this code, still you will not see any UI anywhere. So if you want to see the UI, what you can use is, you have to do this code, if underscore underscore name that double equals to main, then you need to declare your app is something like q app qtgui.q application, and in this argument actually you need to import a system class, and in that sys we will call an argument called sys.argument value. And also the second thing which we're gonna use is, we'll call this class inside this. So calc equals to class and calc dot show. Now we want to show this class, and upon exit we use q app dot. Now we want to execute that. Okay, so now let's just execute this code, run, and we can see our UI which we created here. Okay, it's the same UI. but you can see that there is nothing working when you click here and there, because we just created this UI. We convert this UI file to a py file. We import that py file inside our calculator class. We create a calculation function, and then we don't do anything. So let's do something which can connect these buttons with this screen. So first of all, this is our line edit, okay, and that we changed to screen.le. the name is there. So let's just link our buttons with this le. So let's just create a function here called display screen, and that will take a argument called value, whatever value you want to display. Okay, so with that we will add some value to our screen. le dot add, it should be text value. Okay, if you want to see that how it's working, we'll use self dot display screen, and we just pass a value called 25622 and run the calculator, and you can see that you have 25622 in your screen area. Okay, so you understand what we're gonna do. We will add things inside this screen with this set text. Okay, now we'll add these buttons. So whenever we press 555, it will add 555 here. Let's do that. Okay, so first we call our self dot pb. Now we have a list of our buttons which we created. Okay, so let's press pb0 dot clicked dot connect self dot display screen, and now we'll give a value that is 0. Okay, so whenever 0 button clicked, connect to display screen and pass the argument 0, and this demo will delete that. And before that you have to use lambda. Okay, still, why you are using a lambda? Because if you're providing any argument in the function in the connect, then you have to use this lambda, because this will create a function, a abstract function. Okay, and what is lambda I will cover in a separate tutorial, but for now you can just see you have to use the lambda if you want to pass a argument value to a function to get the result. Okay, so let's just run the calculator, and you can see that not other keys will work here, but if you press 0 it will add. But you can see that when we press 0 and multiple time I'm pressing the 0 key, it just add only one time. So how we can add that multiple time, that 0, then this set text will not work. Then we have to use something like insert. Okay, now let's start. Okay, so now you can add multiple uh, like values inside your screen area. So the same thing we will repeat for our all 9 keys. Okay, let's change to 1, 2. I'll get back to you once I'm done with this renaming part. Alright, so we're done. We have all this buttons connected with our display screen with their value. So now let's just start. Okay, now let's see, 2, 5, 6, 9. Okay, so as you can see, with all your keys you can add numbers, but this is not working. Now we want to erase. When you click this, or we have to clear this. So for that, now let's connect our clear and back buttons with this calculator class. So first of all, let's take the clear one. So self dot clear pb clear dot clicked dot connect self dot screen dot le dot clear. Yeah, that's it. So what you say is, okay, whenever the pb clear clicked, that will connect to screen le clear. Let's just see. Okay, now you need to remove this argument from here. Okay, so we add few numbers here and we press this, and this is clear everything. But now this back is not working. Now let's just do something for this back button. So now we'll take self dot pb and back dot clicked dot, okay, sorry. And now what we will use, self dot screen le dot backspace. So now let's just execute that. So we have the numbers here, and when we press back, it will do the back. Okay, so it will erase the last number. Exactly. Also, if we type many number, if we go into any particular number, and then if you press, then it will erase only the back, the number which is where your cursor is. Okay, so be careful about that. Now let's just quickly add the push buttons of our operators, so that also can give us a value. Let's just say self dot pb add now clicked and we can use this. Okay, and because this is an add, so we'll use add. Okay, and also I would like to add a space. Okay, I'll tell you why I add this space. Just a minute. First I will add our other operators. Okay, so this is our pb underscore minus pb underscore okay divide multiply. Okay, so this will change to star, this we will change to divide, minus we will change to minus sign. Now let's just check our UI how this operator will look like. So if we say 10 plus 50 and maybe we can do some multiplication of 45 divided by 2 and equals to, okay, so now our equals to is not connected with anything. So this equal will actually connect with our calculation, because this will return the result of our numbers with these operators. So how we can connect these buttons values with our calculation functions, that we will cover in our next video tutorial. So follow me there.